Good evening. I've got the dodgy headphones on, so I probably shouldn't have said good so loud there. Try and talk at a normal volume. Basically, I said to you guys once I reached 1,000 subscribers, I could get the live stuff going out. Um, this is basically the start of trying that out really to see if the software that I'm using works, how it comes across. And I could record something and just leave it private, but I've done that a couple of times. I thought, hey ho, let's go out. Now I can get the comments up on the screen at the same time, but for this video, I'm not going to do that. I'll answer anything that comes up after. And because I'm putting something out live now, I thought I might as well talk about Dublin Racing Festival because it's coming up this weekend. I'm doing a weekend preview with Jamie. We'll do that on Friday so that all the declarations are out. That'll be coming up fairly close to the cut-off. So as it stands now, I can give you another update on the way I see things and what I think will or won't be running. So as far as I'm concerned, this is up, live and going. So fingers crossed that is the case. I'm going to skim to sharing my screen side of things now so that you guys can see what I'm looking at. I'll try not to waffle for too long. I'll keep it relatively short. I just want to skim through some of the races. The handicaps I'm going into in great depth later this evening for my own benefit. And then when it comes to Friday, when the selections come out, I'll talk more about those. Obviously, the anti-up stuff that I do with Matt, I want to get this out as a live thing. Honestly, guys, it takes hours some weeks to upload. That's the biggest problem. And although they can be monetized to get some videos or get some ad revenue in there, that isn't the reason that I wanted 1,000 subscribers. I want to be able to make content quicker for you guys. Obviously, with the live stuff, you might lose out on those things with the views, but that's not important to me in the slightest. There will be a video coming up about the rate of revenue and the amount of coins that go in there. So watch that in a few weeks to find out what I'm doing with that and how much it is. But basically, without further ado, let's try the screen side of things and we'll talk some horses. So obviously it is Dublin Racing Festival this weekend. Sandown's got the Scilly Isles, Weatherby's got the Toten Chase, so there's a few other races in the UK that are possibly notable. It's just how bad the ground is over here in the weather. Sandown's got standing water at the moment, got some rain coming, so we'll worry about those nearer the time, see how they are. I'm very hopeful that Leopardstown's going to be on. We can even see on the official goings as it is, yielding soft. I've looked at the map around there and I'm adamant that it's going to be on, so we don't need to worry about that. I normally have a couple of things up when I'm looking for these races. I'll have the odds checker up just to see what's going on with the market, so we can talk a bit more about those. Irish racing's handy for a lot of these races because I don't think they got it for the Nathaniel Lacey because the terms of the race have changed a bit. But down the bottom, they often have details for us about previous winners. And I know you can get lots of this stuff over the Racing Post, but I quite like it on Irish Racing because they put little markers and comments in there. So for some of the handicaps, they'll tell you that they won off of a mark higher. Quick little view at stats of things on here. You can obviously delve into it as deep as you want, but I just like to have that up for the sake of a quick look. We'll revert back to Racing Post for the majority of it because it is the staple for everyone in it. So without further ado, the first race on the first day is the Nathaniel Lacey Partners Solicitors. It's the 2 mile 6 hurdle. Previous winners of this have either gone Ballymore or Albert Bartlett. The fab for this race is Gallard de Mesnil, who doesn't even have an entry in the Albert Bartlett. So you'd think he's going to be Ballymore bound. Obviously, that form has been franked today. Now, the market as it stands at the moment probably looks like Statler may or may not be coming here. You can see even just at first glance there that there's been support for Gallard de Mesnil. So he does look like he's a confirmed runner as it stands. And as I say, the entries towards Cheltenham, he hasn't got anything for the Albert Bartlett. So form line going in to winning a Ballymore. At least that's what they'll be hoping. Statler in that form that got boosted for Gallard de Mesnil. Statler obviously beat Glens of Antrim. He ran okay today. Only got £5 instead of the full 7. So maybe took a little bit of a knock for Statler's form for the Albert Bartlett, but over different trips, when we can teach that as it is. And obviously Gallard de Mesnil was beaten by Holy Macapony before, so potentially again looking towards the Albert Bartlett, maybe that's been a nudge for that. 5-year-old still though, who knows. Other entries that are in this race, Cape Gentleman for Mouse, that'll be a very interesting one. Farouk Delan's ended up in here as well. Again, interesting, like to see him go. Jumping out to the right is a bit of a worry, so if he can confirm something here going left-handed, that'll be handy. Ashdale Bob obviously fell early for Jessica Harrington's in here. They look about the prices that they should be. Holy Macapony, again, it'll be interesting if that does run, but who knows with the Rob Kerr stuff, which ones they are going to be chucking in. Gentleman's Game was another one that was interesting. I think that's a decent enough flat horse before. Fakir is in there for Gordon Elliott. So look, there's plenty of horses with big names in here that are definitely going to be giving us sighters towards Cheltenham. But as it stands, Gaillard de Mesnil does look a serious prospect, and Gaillard de Mesnil does definitely look like it's coming here. So that's where I stand with it at the moment, that Gaillard de Mesnil is going to be going off short. I would suspect sub 2-1. Does look like, as I say, from this market, that he's the one that's going to be coming here, and I suspect some of these won't be lining up that are behind it in the betting, but that's a fairly obvious statement to make. There's a few interesting ones in there anyway. We talked about Esquilane probably needing further, so there'll be some that are probably bigger prices that will be interesting to watch, but looks a tidy enough race. It does at this moment feel like Gaillard de Mesnil's going to probably stamp his chance on a Ballymore. But the result of this will obviously influence how that looks at Cheltenham. If Gaillard de Mesnil doesn't win here or doesn't win impressively, then you question a little bit about have the other two horses in the Ballymore got anything to worry about. Dublin Chase, the Grade 1. A few horses in here that are probably of interest. Mainly it's going to be Chacon Poursoir versus Min. Chacon Poursoir obviously won this race last year, didn't make it to Cheltenham, has looked probably better than ever this season. You'd expect him to go and dot up in this. It's tricky with Min because he's obviously got to go Ryanair bound. It's just in this, isn't it? Like if he was able to beat Chacon Poursoir or say something, I don't know, Chacon Poursoir made a mistake and Min goes and wins this race, will they ever think about the Champion Chase? Coming back, and if the background was bad, I don't think they would. They'd probably go Ryanair. But the Champion Chase this year does look sort of weak enough, doesn't it? And I do wonder whether last year Min would have been able to actually beat Politolog. And I know he won the Ryanair, but we could be talking about a completely different prospect. From last season to this, I don't know. He's interesting. I'm still keen to see how they run. I'm pretty sure they're both going to go up against each other. Notebook, a horse that I do quite like, it got spanked by Chacon, didn't he? So he's going to have to find a bit in there. Tornado Flyer needs to be going in races at some point. Willie Mullins does think highly of him. He's short of the 161 that he's rated personally at the moment from what he's shown. Gordon Elliott's got Sam Crow entering up in here, but he's going straight to the festival. So Fakir Doudrey's will be interesting back at 2 miles. Looks a tidy enough race, doesn't it? But I think the race, for me personally, revolves around the 2 Riki horses. I'd expect Chacon Poursoir to go and bolster his chance at the top of the market for the Champion Chase. If Min was to able to run close, or well, he'd have to beat him, wouldn't he? But he's the interesting one, Min. And again, it's priced accordingly, so you ain't going to learn anything new from me there that you couldn't have known yourself. The Irish Arkle Novices Chase. Now, this is going to be an interesting one. Energumene, obviously, Time Boys went mad about his first run. Time Boys went mad about his second run. I like this horse, don't get me wrong. I backed him for the bumper a couple of years back, so it's not a horse that's just popped on my radar. He's been one on the back burner for a little while. Obviously, there was an injury and a delay for him getting over obstacles. He's made up for lost time already, hasn't he, over fences. But I do just wonder a little bit. I think he needs further personally, and again, I know the Time Boys went mad about it. I want to see who Willie runs in here. I'm really, really excited to see that Unaccepted's got an entry. I hope that he does come here. I think he was due to run, but then with what happened with JP and the family, it just basically put paid to those running preparations. There hasn't been any mention from Willie in comments up to the racing festival up to now, so that does worry me slightly. But if Unaccepted was to line up here, you'd think Franco Deport's got to go and you'd think Energumene's got to go here. So one of those trio, if they were missing, you'd think that Unaccepted would be that one. But if Unaccepted was able to serve it up to Energumene, which I think he could, maybe Energumene could be potentially stepped up as a marsh horse. He does have the entry in that race. Look, I mean, a lot of water's got to go under the bridge. We need to see this race in isolation, but this looks probably one of the most informative races on that first day, especially looking at those first few that we've looked at. We're going to find quite a lot out there about Willie Mullins' pecking order and the actual ability of these horses. I mean, they rate Franco Deport. Felix de Gis was just so weirdly bad the last day. I think he's a lot better than that. Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting one. And Andy Dufresne, if they do come all the way back with him in trip, that's another one that's interested. So looks a really interesting race to find some stuff out with. I've already played Unaccepted for an Arkle. Got some cover on an Energumene any race from right at the beginning of the season. Yeah, so be interested to find out. We'll just have a quick look at the betting to see what's going on with any of the horses. Mostly the reason I jumped on it is to see if there's been any sways with Unaccepted. You can ignore muggy bookies like this on the side about what's happening with it. You can maybe see Franco Deport's varying prices that are in there as well, but general consensus is that Energumen's fab, isn't he? And fairly short. We can get history up on this. I mean, you guys would all know how to do this anyway. See when the races were first priced up, and you can see he's been about the same. Well, he has 5 to 6 the whole entire time. So it's not as if people are rushing to get stuck into him, are they? Um, yeah, way I see it, basically, this probably will tell us who's going to go. Marsh maybe for Willie too. Who knows? There's some decent handicaps. These are the ones I'm going to get stuck into a little bit later on. The best thing about races like this is, especially when you see some big names that are in there, eye-catching horses that have done bits in behind, and Tukas would be one of those that jumps right out off the names straight away. But I reckon there will be 10 horses I'll have noted down of these entries that I'll be interested to see run with a view to festivals over the spring or handicaps over the spring, because it isn't all about Cheltenham as much as it half is, and obviously this is a decent enough purse in its own right, £60,000 or €59,000 to the winner. So I'll be looking to try and find something for the actual race, but I'm sure there will be plenty that I'll be interested in otherwise. And it's also worth making a note of these horses before the final declarations, because if you've got 3 or 4 of those on your top 10 list of interests in this race, and they don't line up, you want to keep an eye on whether maybe they've had a setback, probably not, or maybe they're saving them for another target because this looks a little bit too competitive. But what I mean by that is there will be some good horses in here that obviously they can't all win, and sometimes trainers might swerve this race for still a half decent race somewhere else, but because they know that they've got a win up their sleeves, don't want to waste their mark in here, if you see what I mean. So waiting for final declarations, you often miss out on those that you fancied but don't run. So the Irish Champion Hurdle, it's insane, this race, for the fact that Honeysuckle, if we look on official ratings here, you can see she's 159 with her £7 allowance, puts her 6 clear of the nearest rated. Sorry, 5 clear of Aspire Tower, because he's a 5-year-old, he gets slightly different allowance. Aspire Tower, I don't think is getting the respect that he deserves at the moment, especially given how young he is. Admittedly, we're probably lucky. Well, was lucky to finish second in the Triumph, wasn't he? Given what happened to Goshen, but I don't think he's getting the respect that he deserves. Beacon Edge, we know he's not going to run that run today. Went for the softer option. Really, it's a fact-finding mission for Abacadabras, because a lot of people want to put a line through that Christmas run. I'm one of those, but very much the wise guy's horse at the moment, isn't he? But again, he was 8-1-ish summertime. Other than the Christmas run, which you want to put a line for, he hasn't done a great deal wrong considering he's come out and won this season. And he was a 20-1 poke, so interesting. But then he's 8-1 for this race. I know he runs well at Cheltenham. He runs here particularly well as well. Maybe that all those guys that are backing him for the Champion Hurdle might want to get stuck in this weekend if they've brave enough to back that decision. Saudi, I'm really interested to see. I thought he ran so well for a long way at Christmas and then just faded out like a horse that needed the run. So I really, really, really want to see him running, mainly for his own well-being, but he's still a monster prize for a Champion Hurdle. I want to see him go again. If he doesn't run, he needs to progress a lot from that Christmas run, because obviously he needs to be able to stay, but if he doesn't show much more than he did that day, then I'd be considering putting him on the back burner. Sharjah, whether they go over or not, they took it in last year and he didn't run particularly well. Whether they just stick with the same plan or keep him a bit fresh over Cheltenham, I don't know. But the key thing is here, St. War needs to bounce back. Got beat by Abacadabras. Admittedly, everyone said the race didn't plan out well, but Willie Mullins is in flying form at Christmas and he didn't run that great there, yet he's still shortish for a Champion Hurdle. So obviously he can't be written off. He's too young for that, but he's got to be winning a race like this surely before he's going to go, if he's going to go and win at Cheltenham. Honeysuckle's the interesting one. The string of ones next to her name. I do think Kenny Alexander Alexander loves the mare's scheme, doesn't he? And he won the mare's hurdle last year. No doubt, but in anyone's mind, Benny DeJu was the better mare that day. Just Robbie Power just balls things up, didn't he? Pushing her out for Paul Townend, but been discussed already. No point going over it again. Honeysuckle won it last year. Now, we don't know where Benny's going. They're playing their cards close to their chest. Henry de Bromhead will be the same, I think. They'll leave it till nearer Christmas. If Benny goes for the mare's hurdle, I think Honeysuckle would be more inclined towards a Champion Hurdle. I know that might sound a little bit mad because we haven't seen Benny and she's another year older and Honeysuckle could have progressed past, but they're all just keeping it a bit tight-knit, aren't they? And then obviously if Benny did decide to go mare's chase, maybe that could be based on the fact that Honeysuckle's confirmed that she's going to go for the mare's hurdle. I know they've got Concertista in there, but Willie's going to want to stick a couple of darts in there, considering he's got others for the mare's chase as well. So lots can be found out about that. But the top and the bottom of it is for Honeysuckle in isolation. We really need to remember that the Irish Champion Handle she won last year, I didn't think was very good. This year, potentially, could be really, really good. The ratings are all there. We've got lots of improving horses. We've got Sharjah, the stamped proven horse, and he's only just turned 8, so he's still a youngster in his own right. If Honeysuckle was able to stamp her authority in this race and win by a few lengths, they have to go Champion Hurdle proper, as far as I'm concerned. Whether she can do that, whether she hurdles well enough, or whether she's fast enough, I don't know. But I would stand by this, and I've made this comment a few times already. But if Honeysuckle wins this Irish Champion Hurdle by greater than a length, they've got to go Champion Hurdle as far as I'm concerned. If she won it by a couple, then it would be beyond doubt. Like, she'd have to go Champion Hurdle. I'd love to see it as well, because you can always revert back to the Mare's Hurdle after. You do have the lines of like a Quevega and think, why don't you just go and pick up the pots and do bits and pieces and win lots of races? But Champion Hurdle looks there for the taking as far as I'm concerned, especially now Epitant's had that backish issue. So really interesting race. The market is priced as it is. I don't personally, I wouldn't be wanting to be backing Honeysuckle at the price that she is. They've priced her up accordingly that puts you off wanting to bet. Obviously, depends who lines up what the actual final market would be. The one that I wouldn't be able to back, but I would be semi-interested in, would be Abacadabras, to see how he gets on. But really, Saudia, I could be semi-tempted to back him for this if he was declared, or even top up for a Champion Hurdle. The Champion Hurdle thing's an interesting one, isn't it? Because if he bolts up here, then he goes very short for Cheltenham in March, but he's still got to go there for you to collect. You back him here, how much is he going to shorten up relative for you rolling the cash up? I mean, he's not going to go off 12 to 1, but if he did, he'd have to go down to evens for a Champion Hurdle for you to not be able to get the 25 that's available. So the sensible play might be one way or the other. And obviously the risk is you could back him for a Champion Hurdle, he could run well and get beat here, and then you've still got your bet on for Cheltenham, or you could back him here to try and roll it up. He gets beat but runs well in defeat, like Paisley did at Newbury, and then you've lost your price for Cheltenham. So different ways of doing it, but yeah, Saudi I definitely want to see. It's going to be a fantastic race, whatever happens. I just hope that Honeysuckle does go and spank him, and if Honeysuckle does go and spank him, I think it would still raise a suspicion around me of whether this just isn't a great bunch of horses. As opposed to her being an absolute worldie, but we'll find that out come March. I mean, if she does get beat here by anything, by a few lengths, and she comes second, then whatever beats her is obviously very smart. So that's going to be a really exciting and informative race. Handicap Hurdle, again, 50 odd runners that are already entered in. This is a 2-miler. This will definitely be a race, again, that will have a number of horses that are really interesting for me to look at for March. We can see, just for a quick skim in here, the steeplechase, you can see Aramax is in there for the chase, and he's there in the hurdle race. Potential there for horses that have entered in both of those protecting marks. View to see what's going on with stuff, but again, you want to be looking at these before final declarations, because you want to get a feel for what's entered where and which races they're choosing for. You get to see things like this as well. Downtown Getaways moved to Willie Mullins. That'll be interesting. I mean, Willie can work wonders. 135 is a mark you'd think don't get this one winning on debut. Run pretty well, show a bit of something, and maybe it's one for March, Coral Cup-ish. Who knows? But there'll be plenty of those types of horses in there. I won't delve into the handicap because, again, I was trying to keep this short, and I'm already woofling a bit. So the bumper is going to be a class race. It always is. I don't know who is definitely going to run in this race other than Ramillies. Willie Mullins definitely said that this was the target for it. Now, I feel like Sir Gerhard probably would be coming here, but I don't know whether they might want to save him for fresh for Cheltenham. Gordon Elliott, as you can see, even just there, has got a few that are potential to run in their hollow games. Is in there, and he's a horse that I liked from the start of the season. Kilcruit's in there. What do you want? That one quite nicely as well. That's very well related to some horses. I mean, this doesn't look a Mickey Mouse bumper, does it? Anyway, so just be really interested to see what goes in there. Obviously, if Sir Gerhard doesn't come here, we'll find out the answers come March, which will be arguably a bit more exciting. If he does come here, this doesn't mean it's the be-all and end-all, because obviously he has got to give that little bit of weight away. Doesn't seem like it's huge, but it is a bit. And when Jamie Codd talks about this horse and says, oh, he's a bigger horse, he's that bit older, you seem to get more forward bumper horses. You do. You get that with lots of them. But let's not forget with Ramillies. He had a bumper run last year and was poor. He is that bit further forward. Kilcruit, exactly the same bumper last season, that bit further forward. So I think we've got a bunch of real nice bumper horses in here. I don't think there is a market up for this. as it stands, no. I mean, if there was a market like for this race, Ramillies would be the one that I would have been backing, but again, it would have been price dependent. So we'll see what final decks are on there. But it's going to be a proper race, isn't it? We'll skim onto the Sunday stuff. I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. As I say, Friday I'll be doing a video with Jamie. I'm hoping if I can get this at work, and I'll just do it live, given how late it will be. I can get the comments up on the side, so you guys will be able to fill that in as well for us. You'll be able to interact with some of it. We'll skip through that first race. We'll ignore the mares race. Actually, we'll pull the page out of everything on there. But again, I'll be making notes of horses that are in there to see where they're going, and then there'll be views to other races in the Spring Festival, not just Cheltenham, but it's worth everyone having a look at that. You're obviously all full of our own opinions, aren't we? So the Spring Juvenile historically has been a good race pointing towards Cheltenham. Not necessarily always the one that wins this can go and run well there. Espoir de Lan obviously was injured in this, and I was gutted because I backed him for Cheltenham. I was actually kind of relieved that he had a niggle because I thought it was too bad to be true, but nevertheless, it was a shame to see. We've had Farclash running well in here before going on and winning the Triumph. French Azil for Willie Mullins. He has come out and said that this is going to go straight to Cheltenham, I think. So the price that's a 3-1, you can chalk him out as far as I'm concerned. Quilixolos, there's been some money for that. I could pull it up on here to prove, but I'm guessing you guys don't particularly doubt that. There's been some money for him. So when we're looking at the markets to sort of guess who's going to be coming in the race, I know lots of people are suspicious about bookmaker sponsors, aren't they? But it's Gordon Elliott is obviously the trainer of the big kids, and with Betfair, they're sort of top price, aren't they? Now Quilixolos, if we get the all history up, just easy first glance to skim back to the beginning, 5, 6, 7-1 poke, and he's now around about a general 2-1 shot. So that suggests to me Quilixolos definitely comes here. French Azil, I think he's probably going to skip it. If Zanna here also skips it because Gordon Elliott has just got Quilixolos running and fancies letting that one go fresh to Cheltenham. Not saying he will, but he's got the potential to run a duffel coat in here as well. The money for Quilixolos would suggest to me that maybe those two, if they were taken out of the market, we're looking at a more representative horse that's going to be Fav. Whether he's still some juice in his price or not, I don't know, but that's the way I'm reading it at the moment. It'll be interesting for Boodles type horse in here as well, because Hador, to be honest with you, was really eye-catching because he looks an absolute pig of a ride. Rachel was on board, and I thought this was very, very eye-catching, to be honest with you. So we'll be interested to see how that goes. Like juveniles that are hooded first time up, I hate them, but they very rarely run that well and then don't do something very extreme next time out. So could run really, really well, or could be completely pants. Saint Sam I'm not so sure on, but potentially Boodleish type horse, I don't know. Duffel Coat's just been good so far, so I kind of hope he does run. Tiapu obviously took advantage of Umdor falling, so if those two get to reoppose, that would be interesting to see. It's just going to be a real nice race. There's lots in there that look like really nice horses, and I'll just be interested to see what runs. That's just my view on it at the moment. Like, I haven't heard anything. The market vibes would sway me away from Zan here at the moment. But short-term anti-post is sometimes suicide in it, because it's just a risky business. Sometimes you can get a bit of juice, but you are betting an opinion rather than information. Chanel Farmer Novice Hurdle, decent race historically. Appreciate it. Beat Ballyadam. Ballyadam, again, Christmas Gordon Elliott, you could forgive him that. Just hopefully put a line through it and just assume that it was just one of those he's going to be able to put a line through it and he's going to get better for it. But Appreciated dotted up, didn't he? If Appreciated goes and dots up again, then like how short is he going to be for the Supreme? And I just don't know. I saw him at the beginning of the season as a staying horse. I don't want to be too stubborn with the fact that he's running the 2 mile route, but I still feel like there's something that potentially could go and beat him. But if he goes and dots up like he did at Christmas, regardless of how fit any of these horses are or any excuses that are made, if he goes and bolts up again, then he does deserve to be quite short for a Supreme. The other ones that are going to go in there and around him, we'll probably find out a little bit about him, but it really is just a case of just appreciating. And I think he's going to go off odds on. Bob Ollinger's not going to come here over 2 miles. Blue Lord, I'm not sure whether he might run him in here, but because he probably wants a faster pace. Adam, I don't even know with him because of that bad run at Christmas whether Elliot's going to save some of his horses for the new year or not, or just to save them for Cheltenham. I don't know. It'd be a bit interesting, but I appreciate it deserves to be the price it is, to be fair, and there will be something at prices for an each way punt or without market that might be interesting. There's lots of nice names in here, and something's got to pick up the pieces for you know the remainder of the Supreme market because he's getting very short. Appreciate it, and to be fair, rightly so. Gauloise didn't run in the Solarina Mares Novice this weekend because it was cancelled, so that was annoying. Or was it Thursday she was supposed to run? No, I think it was Saturday. I haven't even seen if they've rescheduled that or not, but potentially if they want to get a run into her, then maybe they'll have to think about it. Willie Mullins has got her entered. I don't really know. And again, you don't really want to be getting them beat, do you? Handicaps, 3 mile one. There'll be some definite bits in here that are interesting. Loads of big names in there again. So I'll go through, I'll make a list and pick out some stuff off the back of that. I'll mention this in the Friday stuff, the ones that haven't run that I was hoping would, and the short list I've got. Flow gas will be interesting. I think Asterion Forlonge is probably going to come here. I know he fell, but it was fairly recent and it was only over the first bend. With that freshness and falling so early, maybe they want to get some more runs into him. Monkfish definitely comes here. And I mean, Asterion Forlonge isn't that much of a liability that you'd worry about when the other horses in here, but I'd be a bit worried about Asterion Forlonge and Monkfish in a race together. But who knows anyway? Well, I'd be a bit worried about Asterion Forlonge in a race with anything. But Monkfish looks like he's going to be going in there. And Pensive wasn't really disappointed today. Got beat by that at Clé de Rire. Was given away £8, I think, and was beaten 7 or 8 lengths. So whether he ends up going National Hunt Chase or not, I don't really know. But he's not going to be running here essentially, and that takes up a bit of the market. Next exhibition was well beaten by Monkfish in the end, the last day. But obviously, trip wise, there's being 2 mile 5. And Monkfish probably just wanting to be an out and out stayer. I'd like to see him reoppose, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And then there's other bits and pieces in here that look okay. Horses look quite nice. Like I say, Andy Dufresne had the 2 mile option, has this option as well. But it should be interesting to see what route they go down to where they might be going later in the festival. And again, seeing some bigger names like Coco Beach is having entries in races like this. I know he's gone and hacked up in Athestes, but it shows the regard they hold some of these horses in. Anyway, I don't know, you get a few rogue ones in there, but that'd be a good race. You'd expect Monkfish to win, and I'd like to see a bit more from Monkfish, to be honest. He was obviously very impressive the last day with making a few mistakes, but I'd like to see an emphatic performance from him in that race, really. Irish Gold Cup, this is going to be it's just going to be an absolute corker for me as far as I'm concerned. I've already put up Melon and Delta Work for the Gold Cup. I thought they were just both too big a price. Melon would have won the Savills Chase for me at Christmas had Patrick not steadied him into 2 out. I don't know why he was trying to ease off, keep your foot on the pedals, what he should have done. And then maybe that's what made the mistake. Maybe it wasn't, but he still shouldn't have eased him off. Willie Munn has already talked about maybe different tactics on him, forcing it maybe a bit more with him. And I know how much better he is at Cheltenham. This is going to be a proper race if Milano actually does line up. I don't know. I think a Plutard goes straight to Cheltenham, so you pinch him out of it. You potentially Milano should be coming here. Delta Work, I'd like to see him come here after unseating the last day, but I think Melon's really interesting. It's just the price that he is. Like, it's skinny enough for this race in isolation. And I know that this is a 3 mile race, and then going to Cheltenham, it's 3 mile 2.5, and it probably feels like more like 3.5 miles. Like, you really do need to stay, but you can still get 25s on Melon, I think, to win the Gold Cup. He was 66s before we ran at Christmas when I put him up. I still just think he's a monster price if he does end up coming here. I think there's a lot of people that be hoping he flops and drops back for a Ryanair. I just still think that Savills Chase race, he would have won it had he not made the mistake. Run so well at Cheltenham. I think that's where I feel like that's where he should be going. He should be going Gold Cup come March, just to find out more than anything. But again, Fakir Dudris is in the 2 mile race. Be interested to see if he steps up. He could be one of those that falls back down into being an interesting Ryanair horse. Delta Work, you want to see a bit more from him, but I think he's potentially overpriced in the Gold Cup still. And we'll just have to see how good Melanindo is, won't we? We want to see him falling so early in the Savills Chase. And obviously, me saying about Melon, you get the main protagonist, Delta Work and Melanindo, going fairly early in the race. How strong is that form of the Savills Chase? Very weak, I would suggest. So hopefully we're going to learn some more. And Sam Crow already touched on go straight to Cheltenham. So really interesting race there. Price wise, we want Jack Kennedy on Delta work. When he wasn't on him last time, I cashed out of a bet that I had on him. I had Delta work as an each way bet for the 7 straight. I cashed out because Jack wasn't on him. He's a big help to Delta work. Obviously, like a bit of a rogue, but looking at the price now, you like 5 to 2 million window does look fairly generous. Not in abundance, but hey. And obviously that's me tipping up a horse. Well, not tipping up. It's me suggesting a horse off the back of a full price-wise looks okay. But yeah, it wouldn't be one I'm looking to get stuck into as yet. Obviously, final decks for those. Again, another handicap here where lots of names will be going in there. Short list for this race specifically, and the list of those that missed the race that I want to keep an eye on for next time out. Then we've got the Mares bumper. Now, again, we talked about Downtown Getaway going to Willie Mullins. We can see that Take T's been purchased by JP. Very interesting. Deluro was the one a couple of years back, wasn't it, behind Envoy? That was, I guess, this will be probably mentioned against. I still, well. I think Take T was probably the most impressive bumper performance I'd seen when I watched the race in its first instance. Like, I genuinely think she's very special. So this looks a nice enough, well, it will be a nice enough race to find out just how good she is. Brandy Love was obviously pretty impressive as well. Grand G, not so much. It does look a very nice race. I really hope Take T takes this up, and I'd like to hope that Take T wins nicely because I do fancy a bit for Cheltenham. This is obviously a stepping stone towards it. If your horse goes and wins here, you'd be a bit shocked to see if they don't go to Cheltenham in March. Obviously, that's not the be-all and end-all of it, but she's a 6-year-old going into a bumper. Like, you'd think, just get her there, let her go to Cheltenham, get some experience if they're thinking about whether it's mares, hurdles, or anything in the future. There's only so many times you can get that experience at Cheltenham, which we know is pivotal later on in a career. So you get these 5-year-olds, maybe they could swerve it and go up another year. I'm just very keen for the better horses to take their chances. So Take T, really interested in her. On the last race on the Sunday, so that pretty much peels up the end of the live, to be honest. I really just wanted to get something done as like a bit of practice for myself. As I say, I'll be doing something with me and Jamie on Friday to talk about the racing. We'll put some selections up. Hopefully I can do the live for that because it saves the answer coming in after. I can get the live chat on this screen, as I say, so I'll do that for the anti-up stuff that I'll be doing with Matt. Fingers crossed if this has gone okay and I can get his camera in, we can do that for the Tuesdays, which means I can get those episodes out a lot quicker than normal, because it just takes a few hours after, and also it will be really helpful to get the live chat in there and a bit of interaction. When we do the anti-up, I'll pinch of salt that because it takes us long enough to ramble. We'll struggle to go through it, and I like to answer the comments after. When we're doing the live previews for a weekend, I feel like it would be handy to have the live chat there because we can talk and then we can go through the live chat after, or if a mention comes up as we go in. So thanks for anyone that has watched this. As I say, there'll be some more stuff coming out. Anti-up will be out Tuesday. Whether we do it live or we post it, one way or the other, it'll be out. Hopefully I can do it live. Friday, something with Jamie for the Dublin Racing Festival. And then we'll be really gearing up towards Cheltenham even more than that. Obviously, be 6-ish weeks going into it now. I want this weather to sort itself out a bit, don't we? We don't really want a heavy ground festival, but it's something that the closer we get to it, the more it bugbears people, the more it should be playing in the back of your mind. And I did something a little while ago about a soft ground festival. That really means we've had bad ground most of the season, so the level of form that goes into it shouldn't cause us too much of a problem, but I'll do a repeat video for that when it gets nearer the time, if needed. So going to wrap it up here, guys, and as always, I really appreciate your guys' support. I think liking videos helps, even if you dislike it, to be honest. I think it still gets some sort of exposure on there, but anything you guys want to know, I'm really keen to know your guys' feedback. The whole point of doing this is I just like talking horses. I like to interact with people, so your comments are really appreciated. And yeah, that's going to be the end of it. Enjoy your Sunday evenings, and we will see you Tuesday.